Hello, hello. Good morning and blessed Ostara to you. Hold on, let me turn my candles on here. Also, surprise! I had not planned on doing a live this morning, and indeed, I'm still in my morning gown here. In fact, I just got up a little while ago. But it's Ostara, and I'm sitting here in this beautiful sunshine streaming in the window. And I thought I would jump on here live because last night I tried, or I didn't try to, I shot a video um, with, let me make sure because I didn't do a sound check beforehand. Okay, you should be able to hear me. um, I, I shot a video about these four astrological events this week. And I thought, the charts are very similar in a lot of ways, but then they're different. And I kind of did each one, and I was thoroughly unsatisfied. So here I am again. I may put the chart up on the screen for you. I may not. Let's see. I need water. But what I invite you to do is to grab your coffee, grab a bevy. I know it's not morning for everyone, but let me see if... Hi, Helen Marie. Yay! Oh, I told you I've been... Whoopsie, hold on. Okay. I told you I've been thinking about doing a live stream at an odd hour so my people across the pond and on the other side of the globe might have a chance at it. So, yeah, okay, wait a minute. I'm trying to rearrange myself here because I've got many things to look at. Let's put you over here. And let's put you, darling, here maybe. Oh, shit, I don't know. Anyway, um, the charts are so very similar because they happen boom, 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 you know? And the sun moves a degree a day. The moon moves like 12 some degrees in a day, 12 and a half degrees in a day, I think. So those are the things that are really going to change. Mercury moves a little faster than the sun. So those are the things that are going to change fast. But the outer planets are all going to be holding, they don't move as fast. So we have a couple aspects that are common to all of these charts. And of course, I shot the video, produced it, was going to upload it, and I thought, you know what? No, I'm not happy. So let's take a look here. I'm going to push myself off to the side. Come on, darling. Oh my God. Here we go. Push myself up in a corner, and then I will, for heaven's sake. So this is what happens before I've had my coffee. Okay, so there's a quote here. I was reading an article this morning, and this is what made me decide to jump on live. It just kind of coalesced everything with the charts, and it was by oh crap! Did I shut the window? I did. Morgan Housel, I think his name was. Um, he wrote an article. I can find it really quick here. He wrote an article called Psychological Paths of Least Resistance. And it was talking about the things that we do that kind of confirm our biases and make it less comfortable for us to go through circumstances that we're going through. Kind of how we manipulate data that's coming in. But yeah, his name is Morgan Housel. I got it right. And collabfund.com is where this came from. It actually came from a letter that I get in my inbox that is called Refined, and I just set subjects that I'm interested in, and every morning it delivers me articles on those subjects, and some of them have been excellent. So the quote here is, most big things, companies, events, careers, pandemics, etc., are just a bunch of small, random, boring things that compound at just the right time and explode into something bigger and more powerful than anyone imagined. And that's such a wonderful statement of a lot of things in astrology. And I mean, he's talking about life, that our experience of life and the big events in life aren't one big event, you know. And talking about kind of the societal events in life, not like the, you know, Mount St. Helens events or these big natural disasters, but the things that happen to us as humans that are part of our culture and society and our interactions are the big events are a bunch of small, boring things that just come together in a perfect storm and shit happens. So let's take a look at the first chart. Now I have to move myself here. All right, we're going to do this. And that means I got to shut the overhead cam down. Okay. And then I got to move that. Okay. All right. So here you have the chart for the equinox, which is the Aries ingress of the sun. And three of the things that are happening this week are ingress events, which means a sign coming or a planet coming into a new sign. So today, the equinox is defined by the sun coming into Aries. In the autumn, it's defined by the sun coming into Libra, the opposite sign of Aries. So, looking at this, we've got Sun, Mercury, Chiron, and Jupiter all in Aries as the sun hits at 0 degrees. So, we've got a strong, but what's interesting is that, hold on, I gotta rearrange the charts I'm looking at here because these charts have the little graph down at the bottom that gives me a chart signature. And with this, interestingly, what did I just do? Oh, for God's sake. You know, is it a good thing that you're getting me in the morning? Well, we'll find out. Before I've actually had my coffee. There we go. All right. Anyhow, the chart signature of this chart is Virgo. And it's Virgo because of the three planets we have in Pisces and the one in Gemini. That's strong, mutable. And one of those is the moon, which is heavy, counts for heavy. So we've got this, you know, mutability kind of standing out in front of cardinal and fixed. Mutability is adaptability, changeability. It's the end of seasons, right? So, and then we've got three planets, Uranus and Venus in Taurus, along with the North Node, and we've still got Pluto in Capricorn hanging out 29 degrees and 57 minutes at the dead end of Capricorn. So we have a predominance of Earth and mutability, even with that wad in Aries, and we end up with a Virgo chart signature. So overall, we're looking at the equinox event as being one that is down to earth. The earth element is predominating. And so this is the chart, this is the natal chart for the season of spring in the northern hemisphere, the season of fall in the southern hemisphere. And since I am a natal astrologer, I can sometimes struggle when I'm looking at these charts and reading for the collective because my training is natal astrology. I'm not trained in mundane astrology, which has, you know, different sets of keywords. Not that things mean different things, but it's just another area, you know, that they're looking at on a more global perspective, and I don't have that training. But if I look at this natally, everything has a birth, and this season has its birth today. So let's look at the nature of this season. Overall, Virgo talks about service, practicality, being able to change. So Virgo looks at things very practically, processes that information through, synthesizes, it analyzes first, which is taking things apart, and then it synthesizes what it learns from that into something new, a new process, a more efficient way of being, a new understanding of things. Very detail oriented, um, very change oriented. You know, Virgo looks at things in order to see what needs to be changed. So this, this vibe over the season says we get this time to look at um, what we need to change collectively. And Virgo is service oriented. It's about routines. Do our routines serve us? Do they work for us? Do they need to be changed? Are they efficient? Do they serve? Okay, and who do they serve? So we're looking at things collectively to see how or if the way we do things serves us, serves the greater good. And we've got Mercury in Aries, Sun in Aries. So, of course, Aries is let's get to it. We've got to be aggressive about things. Let's really, take charge and see what's going on. It's pioneering. It's not afraid to, go where angels fear to tread, kind of thing. We have Saturn, Moon, and Neptune in Pisces, so we still have this very strong, empathetic, empathic, compassionate vibe, particularly with the Moon in Pisces. So we can look at this service, um, the things that we need to do. And by the way, Pisces is the opposite sign of Virgo. So we talk about Virgo service, Pisces sacrifice. So we are going to be asked to look at what we need to sacrifice. What is coming up for ending, what is ripening in order to end. And Pisces is the ultimate of endings, last mutable sign, last sign of the zodiac. With Saturn in Pisces, just freshly in Pisces, it's at 1 degree. I know when I read that chart, um, I was talking about Saturn coming under the sway of Neptune. So Saturn is moving into Neptune's country, where Neptune's rule holds, right? So Neptune is the dissolver and Saturn is structure. So what can happen here initially is this dissolving of some of the structures that we live with, that we impose. The rules, the rule of law is Saturn. Karma is Saturn. The other thing Neptune can do is cast a haze over things so we don't see it clearly. So we kind of are in danger here of getting a little idealistic about when we're looking at the government, when we're looking at what we can expect down the road, what our outcomes and consequences may be. And that's not altogether a bad thing. We can be hopeful. Pisces is hopeful to a fault. It hopes when the evidence is staring them in the face, but they can't see it through their rose colored glasses. So we've got that, but we can also look at bringing the planet of structure into Pisces realm. The Pisces realm deals with spirituality, any place where we are not separated from each other, where we feel ourselves in union. And that's what spirituality is. It's being in union with yourself, being in union with the spirit, the indwelling spirit, the divine spirit that lives in you. So we can look at structure coming to spirituality and things like meditation and prayer and, religious ritual and stuff. It's all under the realm of Neptune. So Saturn coming in can say, first of all, the Lord of Karma, we have to come to terms with all of the places that we've been blind, that we've been idealistic, that we've been addicted, that places where we've lost ourselves. And Sun coming out of Pisces into Aries, Sun is our collective identity, right? And in Pisces, we've had this illusion maybe of who we are collectively, and in Aries we start really looking at me, I, me, mine. It does become very personal with the Sun in Aries. So we start looking at who we are, but Saturn coming into Pisces says that we can now perhaps bring structure to our spiritual practice, to our meditation, to things like that. The thing here, though, we have two aspects that are in play through all of these charts. Let me make sure it's for the last one. And so I want to look at these because this is the common factor in all of them. And yes, we have these two aspects in play in every single one of these charts. Now, the charts are today, Aries ingress, that happens at 5:24 p.m. in the Eastern time zone. So adjust for yours. The new moon in Aries, which is at exactly the same degree. It's at 1 degree or 0 degrees of Aries, 49 minutes. So 0 degrees Aries is the ingress of the sun, is the equinox point, and then tomorrow morning, the new moon happens at that very same point. So it is important for you to know where that point is in your natal chart. What house does it fall in? Because this is where these energies of the reset of spring, the reset of the moon cycle. So the spring chart defines the whole season, the natal chart of the whole season. The new moon chart is the natal chart of the moon and holds until the full moon, so just a 2-week period. Astrological cycles, there are big cycles, small cycles. Okay, so the new moon happens at 7. What the heck? Wait a minute. 122. Oh, at 1:22:55. There we go. 1:22 in the Eastern p.m. in the Eastern time zone. So this evening at 5:30 is the equinox. Tomorrow afternoon, just before 1:30, is the new moon. Again, Eastern time. The third chart is Pluto changing signs, and this is the biggie. This is the big, right? Pluto cycles are long. Let me look real quick here. Yeah, make sure Pywacket's not behind me. I want to look at, and I grabbed the wrong book. Sorry. Be right back. All right. This is what I needed, my ephemeris. So I can look and see like when Pluto will be in for good and forever. Alrighty. When Pluto goes back into Aquarius, all right, in November of 2024. So it goes in on Thursday. It comes back out in June. It goes back in, I believe, in the fall. No, it goes back in January of 2024. So from June to January, we're going to be back out. At the end of June to January, we're going to be back out into Capricorn. And then it comes back in January of 2024. It goes back out in September of 2024. And then back in for good in November of 2024. And let's see how long it's going to be in Aquarius. I'm turning chunks of pages here. Holy shit. Okay, Saturn or Pluto will be in Aquarius. Oh, so close. Oh my God, it gets at 29. Okay, this is a long haul, you guys. All right, Pluto makes his first dip into Pisces. Are you ready? Are you sure you're ready? Do you have your coffee? In March of 2043. 20 years. He had a 20-year run in, no, wait a minute, not quite 20 years. Let me see when he went into Capricorn. His first, yes, I remember this. Pluto's first step into Capricorn was in 2008. In November of 2008. What happened in November of 2008 that was significant, at least for U.S.? Oh, yes, Obama was elected president. So we had, the end of 2008. What is that? That's a long time. That's a long time. It's like 15 years. And the reason that it's so changeable, how long Pluto stays in a sign, is because its orbit is an ellipse. All the other planets travel on a plane, the same plane in space. The other planets are traveling around like a record on a record player, and Pluto comes in like this, So it's wonky. But Pluto in Aquarius is going to last for 20 years. So there's a lot that's significant, very significant. At any rate, Saturn in this chart is the very, very tail end of Capricorn. But the aspects, what I was getting to, the aspects that are the same in all these charts, one of them is Mars in conjuncting Pluto. And when I first shot the video, I was talking about Mars being action and Pluto being transformation and all that stuff. But then I started looking at it archetypally. And the fact that these four aspects happen over a week where we've got four significant points in astrological time, why not look archetypally? We're looking, over all of humanity and the issues that we're dealing with. So if we look at Mars as the god of war, but also Mars as masculinity, maleness, and Venus, of course, is femaleness. But we're looking at our idea of maleness here. And in Gemini, things have gotten a little ambivalent. Things are changing. Gemini always needs at least two of everything, variety, right? So here we are coming into, and we through the women's movement, back in the 60s and the 70s, women have found a wide variety of expression, of a way to express being a woman. And it became acceptable a long time ago for women to wear pants and to wear suits and not to dress, freely and feminine and pretty. Women can express themselves in a very broad way. Masculinity hasn't so much, it's still been the men in suits, short hair. I mean, things are changing little by little by little, and I love to see it. But Mars's move through Gemini, which takes about 2 months, has brought this ambivalence in. And I mean, we're looking at legislating against drag shows. And the inconjunct with Pluto, Pluto is force and dominance. Inconjunct is things that need adjusting. So masculinity on one end, force and dominance on the other end. Masculinity and sexuality. Venus is sensuality, and full on with Venus in Taurus. That is her home, and yes, she is all about the sensual pleasures. Mars, masculinity. So our idea of masculinity is at odds with force and dominance and manipulation and these Plutonian things. Gosh. And if we look at Mars, it's at 27 degrees of Gemini. So as we go through these four charts, it comes up to that critical degree, and then until it moves into Cancer. But what are we culturally and collectively struggling with here? The definition of masculinity and force and dominance. These things are now at odds with each other. And so many men worldwide are saying, this isn't who I am. I can't identify with that idea of masculinity. I have my feminine side as well. I have compassion. I can express my feelings. And also, Pluto is extremity. So we've had this extreme definition of masculinity and very restrictive. It's got to be this, this, and this. Real men don't, do and don't whatever. So this is now coming up for adjustment. It's time to adjust this idea of masculinity. And also, if we look at Mars as just our warlike nature and our tendency to violence, what's bringing that up for adjustment is, the threat of nuclear attack from Putin. I still feel like he's going to push a button. I've always felt like there's going to be one, and I still feel that way, but we shall see. Um, so we're grappling with just our little ideas of violence, our old ideas of war, and the nuclear age that we're living in, and how destruction can be so much more vast in one single act. So these are the things that are up for adjustment. And when I do these charts, my aim is to bring these issues into your consciousness so you can have a look at them and how they might be playing out in your life. Now, to look at this personally, because, I have to look at these broad sweeping things when I'm doing charts for the collective. But to look at it personally, you need to know where these things are happening in your chart. So you would need to know where the end of Gemini is, the end of Capricorn. And these two planets, this whole aspect is getting ready to shift into a new sign. In the last chart, where they're both in new signs, the aspect is still there. So here, let's take a look at this. Mars in Gemini can talk about aggressive communication, how we have extended our battles into the news media, into the dissemination of information. We can look at propaganda, how information is used to manipulate people into war. Pluto is manipulation, Mars is war. So this is going to come to a head. We're going to look at, and you look at what's happening now with Fox News being sued. And, so this is on the table. It's time to look at some of these extreme ways that misinformation are spread and adjust that. Misinformation spreading anger. The Fox News, what does it do? Anger, anger, anger. Look at Tucker Carlson. Even when he laughs, it's like fucking maniacal, It's all about whipping their base into a frenzy of anger. And indeed, Donald Trump is doing this again. He has truthed out over the weekend that he's going to be arrested on Tuesday and called his supporters to take back our nation, to protest. But protest isn't, taking back is not a protest. He wants action. I think he's going to be surprised. I think that, the people that were really ready to plan and act for him are in prison. And, they showed up in D.C., and so many of them are now in jail. And others of them are going, I'm not going there. So maybe there's a deterrent factor in the fact that, how did that work out for you last time? But he's trying it again. So he's putting out inflammatory communication, Mars in Gemini, and he's looking to incite violence, and, something that's going to really sway everything and allow him to dominate, to allow him to come back into his dictator role. Pluto rules dictators. So we've got Putin here, we've got Trump, we've got all of this, the strong man thing. That's Pluto. Mars is masculinity, Pluto is the strong man. So we're looking at how we can adjust or maybe disengage these two things. Masculinity doesn't mean there can be only one. Masculinity can cooperate and communicate. That's Gemini, you know? And so these new, and Pluto being extreme says that what we decide now, the things that we choose to do going forward can be extremely influential. And this is a 20-year ride once he gets into Aquarius. Okay, so the other aspect here is Mars trining Saturn. In this chart, it's kind of wide, but it's applying. And by the last chart, let me see. By the last chart, it is exact. And I do want to say, though, let's shift, before I leave the Pluto-Mars thing, let's shift it into its new signs and see what happens. So we have Mars going into watery Cancer. Mars in Gemini isn't exactly uncomfortable, but it's scattered. Mars is our drive. I'm going to do this. I really want this. It's libido. So if you think about, your sexual urge, libido, and somebody will say, "Oh, I've got a boner for this or that." Something that you really want. It's desire. Venus is affection. Venus draws in. Mars goes out. Goes after. So we have it in Gemini scattered. We have a variety of things that we're trying to go after. When it comes into Cancer, it's under the moon's sway. So it's almost like somebody throws a wet blanket over fiery Mars. It goes into the emotional realm. All right. And then we have to deal with kind of the fallout of what's happened before, the emotional repercussions of things. But it certainly dampens down that drive to violence, that urge to fight, that aggression. Pluto, when it shifts into Aquarius, goes from this structured, calcified, it represents the patriarchy, things that just we do not question because this is the way we do it and we always have. And it goes into the explosive realm of Aquarius under Uranus's sway. So we become about ideas here, not about the physical structure of things and, how things are built, but it goes into the realm of ideas. So what's up for transformation here is the way we think about things. We can have radical innovation going on here. So here's where we look at deep, deep research. Pluto is research, digging down deep. And what it can bring up, I'm looking at it in a more global way because Aquarius is about humanitarian pursuits. And so we can see the impact that our Plutonian nature, our extremes, our, these guys, these dictator, this strongman vibe, comes in, and we get to see how that is at odds with our humanitarian pursuits. I'm a little confused on this one. I did something on a live stream a couple weeks ago. I think it was actually the 15th last week, where in the beginning I talked about Pluto in Aquarius. It might have been the week before. Anyhow, you can refer back to that. Just look at the last couple of live streams before this, because I did a very long thing on Pluto and Aquarius. Or maybe it was Saturn and Pisces. But Pluto and Aquarius is certainly explosive. When you put Pluto and Uranus together, all bets are off. Big, sweeping, intense, wide-ranging things can happen in a heartbeat, in an unexpected, disruptive way. Hi, Erwin. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I haven't taken a minute to look and see if anybody's even on and watching this morning. Hold on. Oh, we got 3 of us. It's nice. I hope you have your coffee. I need a warmer. So we go from mutable cardinal into cardinal and fixed. So things in the now that resonate down to the future, where we are now, Mars is in an ending sign. It's an immutable sign of endings. So maybe that old form of masculinity is ending. Maybe that way of aggressive communication to manipulate is ending. Let's hope. And Pluto goes into a fixed sign, which says these things are going to resonate far, far, far down the line. And Mars going into Cancer says we need to deal with the emotional impact of our aggression in an immediate way. All right, to the other aspect. Mars trine Saturn, both in mutable signs, both in, well, Mars is still in Gemini here. The aspect becomes exact when he comes into Cancer, and then they're both in water signs. That's what is the trine. So we can put some concerted energy into structuring of our spiritual practice. Mars and Saturn are the greater and the lesser malefics, which means trouble bringers. Mars is the lesser malefic. It causes trouble because we get angry and violent and, you know. Saturn is the greater malefic because it's the Lord of Karma. It brings our lessons home to us. You know, it's also fear, delay, denial, restriction, all that stuff. Dogma. But when we put them in trine, when you put them in opposition, you can get ruthlessness. Somebody that's got drive to achieve that is so strong that they will roll over anything and anybody. Same thing with the square. Interestingly, I remember learning, my astrological teacher actually said that when you have Saturn and Mars mal-aspected, particularly if it's involving the ascendant in any way, people just don't like you. There's just something. And I worked with a woman whose chart I had that had a Saturn-Mars square, and she was the pissiest person I've ever known. Even when she was happy, she was pissy. Okay? So let's put them into trine. Let's bring some ease and flow between them and see what that looks like. Mars trine Saturn says that what we are fired up about, we can structure and achieve. It's about being able to put a plan around around the force. Mars is the force, right? Venus is the form. And we can actually structure that and plan it and accomplish something over the long term. It's like reining in that wild horse, you know, so we can steer it. So that aspect holds. And when it's both in water signs, we can really do that with our emotional body. We can meditate. We can look at ourselves on an emotional level in a structured way and with motivation. Okay, I want to go on to the next chart here. So you can see, you know, what we're kicking off for the season. Oops, let me bring up my... And let's look at the new moon. Now we have Moon, Sun, Mercury, Chiron, and Jupiter in Aries. So remember that Mars rules that whole gang there. But the Aryan energy, the masculine energy, is so very strong. And I don't want to say Aryan, the Aries energy. Gosh, I'm talking so long, my coffee is getting cold while I'm talking. All right. So this is the new moon, this big reset, and let's look at our own Mars nature. This is all about Mars. How are we aggressive? What are we motivated about? What are we really passionate about? And with that trine to Saturn, how can we put those passions into a plan? What is your plan? And this is the short term. Remember, this new moon chart goes from new moon to the full moon. But this holds for that seasonal chart as well, talking about putting what we're passionate about into some sort of form, into some sort of plan that we can execute over this 3-month period and intensively over this 2-week period from the new moon to the full moon. So we've got Sun, Moon in Aries. Moon in Aries can make us a little or a lot reactive about things, emotionally reactive. The good thing about Moon in Aries is that it gets over it entirely. So if you've got someone with the Moon in Aries, they're going to flare up quickly in the now. They're going to blah, 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 here's what I feel about it, and then they're done. They're over it. They do not hold grudges with the Moon in Aries. So this is a wonderful, wonderful beginning and a really clear way to use these energies. What am I passionate about? What am I going to do about it? Most importantly, how am I going to get there step by step? That's Saturn. All right. I also want to look at Venus. I mentioned Venus in Taurus. She's hanging out here. She's conjuncting the North Node, but she makes no planetary aspects right now. And that means that her energy is just kind of free to be who she is. And like I said, very much at home, very grounded, substantial. Feminine energy in the material just says that I know what counts to me, I know what I value. And so our value system around the material comes in there. We can add that into the mix. Then, and we've got, that Mars Pluto in conjunct. So let's look at spell work and the new moon. There's plenty of energy here, but we have to plan it out, I think, how we can womp up a bunch of energy that can be seriously transformative. All right. Since I talked so much about those aspects in the first chart, I can kind of tick through these next ones. Here is the chart on, and remember the new moon is tomorrow afternoon at 1:30-ish in the Eastern time zone. This is March 23rd at 8:14 a.m. Eastern time. This is when Pluto hits Aquarius. So we have all the same things, except the difference, when we had the new moon chart, we had both sun and moon sitting at 0 degrees of Aries. Fresh beginning for those things. And look at how now, when Pluto goes into Aquarius, we've got four planets and Chiron in Aries across the whole range of Aries. Sun at the beginning, moon at the end, bracketed, all this Aries energy bracketed by the planets that rule father and mother, our outward expression and our inward experience, sun, moon. Our inward experience, it also describes our reaction. It's how we derive our security. So sun is all about me, me, me. I want to express myself alone, just me. That's the most important thing. Moon in Aries at the end here is in the Sagittarius decade of Aries. So this is where we wrap up the emotional journey that we've been through in looking at all these Aries and Mars issues. And so, this whole package of this warlike thing comes into such high focus as Pluto changes sign. It's all about studying war. And I ain't going to study war no more, right? So hopefully when Pluto hits Aquarius, and of course, Pluto's first action as it comes into any sign is to expose. It rips the curtain away. It digs up the grave. It cranks open the coffin. It digs up everything that has been hidden, buried, suppressed. All the underhanded stuff comes up. And this is going to come up, in the realm of science. That's Aquarius too. In the realm of technology. So maybe we're going to see how technology has been used to promote, we still got Mars and Gemini here, to promote that kind of, or to facilitate that kind of inflammatory communication. And then we need to adjust that. But most importantly, I think Pluto switching from Capricorn into Aquarius takes it from the realm of the good old boys, the realm of the hierarchy and those that are actually in power, into the realm of humanity as a whole. That's something I never quite keyed in on before. So it's kind of like these issues come into our hands across the board rather than just the fat cats and the 1%. That's very interesting. But look at again how the sun and moon is bracketing all of this. Of course, Mercury in Aries and Pluto, or Mercury and Mars, are actually in what's called mutual reception because they're in each other's signs. So Mercury in Aries is that aggressive style of communication, very active mental stuff going on. Mars in Gemini is the same kind of thing from another sort of aspect, aggression happening in the realm of communication. And then Chiron in Aries is the woundedness, the trauma, the collective trauma that comes from our warlike ways. Jupiter is the global part of that, how a war in one place affects us globally. And then the moon, again, looking at dealing with the emotions of all of the realization of all of this. Now let's look at the Mars chart, the Mars ingress. I hope this is making sense to you. Okay, so now we have Pluto at 0 degrees Aquarius, Mars at 0 degrees of Cancer. This is where this aspect comes to a head because it becomes exact, and as they change signs, things get kind of critical. And Mars has been, at critical degrees, and so has Pluto. Things culminate, and then, we see the new vibes of the new signs unleashed, right? Here we have Moon in Taurus. That is a help. That is definitely a help. And the only other aspect we've got with Pluto here is a square to the North Node, which says that how we move forward with things is critical. We are going to be feeling this intense pressure to just move forward. North Node in Taurus says we must do it in a practical way, and we must do it in a way that reflects our values. Venus is values. Venus is sitting right there conjuncting it in Taurus, the North Node. So moving forward slowly in a practical way, in a way that reflects values, and that's going to have sweeping consequences. Sweeping consequences. We have to be very careful about either or. Pluto wants things to be black and white and extreme. I'm looking at it because it's a square here. So we might want to look at our path forward in terms of black and white, and we can't do that anymore. In Aquarius, it's a jumble. It's got to be everything, everything everywhere all at once. I haven't seen that movie yet, and I really, really want to. We still have the Mars trining Saturn. We now have Pluto trining the Moon. It's an applying aspect. It's 7 degrees off, but the moon moves quickly. So we've got the moon applying to trine Pluto, which means we can bring our stable emotions. The moon is exalted in Taurus. Our emotional stability can, There's transformation with Pluto and Aquarius. There's emotional stability. So when we look at explosive things, we can do it in a way from a place of dealing with our emotions in the body, in the physical. Our sense of security. Let's look at that. So I think, with Mars in Aries, we don't feel exactly secure. But with Moon in Taurus, we feel very secure. And once again, I will say, as I've been saying over and over and over again, please, please, please be about your business. Check your resources. Look at how you can use your resources to shore up your living situation. So if and when big, unexpected, disruptive things happen, and we look at all the weather things around the world and earthquakes and stuff that nobody planned on, how can you set yourself up so that it's most likely that you will not just survive, but survive well, that you can take care of yourselves and your family through whatever disruptions we may experience. Holy mackerel. That's a lot. That's an awful lot. And so I hope I haven't numbed your brain out. Please, if you're watching, let me know what you think. Do you have any thoughts on this? Is it completely overwhelming? It's difficult to look at things like this because it is overwhelming. Um, there's just so much to look at one time, you know? And I think what I'm going to do at the end here is go grab a deck. Gosh, I've been banging on for almost an hour. Um, Perhaps I'll do a separate reading because this is just a wad of astrology. If you've made it through, whether you're watching this live or after, please let me know what you think. And Tavia, I know you'll be watching this. Tavia, my friend, who is also an amazing astrologer, and I'm interested in your insights as well. Sometimes, I can look at something and I just can't, the thoughts won't coalesce looking at the different energies and things. It takes a special kind of thinker. And guess what rules astrology? Aquarius. So Pluto going into Aquarius says that we can see into things deeply through astrology. We can see deep, deep currents and big sweeping things. Remember that Pluto moves so slowly that his effect is over us all. So, yippee, here we go. Buckle up. Do your spell work. Launch your Ostara rituals. The thing I do for Ostara is we take raw eggs and we bless them and we, paint them or do whatever we want to put our spells into them. Dig a little hole, go outside, put it in the ground, and stomp on it to release the spell into the earth. And then tomorrow at new moon, get your magic going for yourselves and also for all of us, working on a level for all of humanity. All right, you guys, I hope that was more than just a big mess of terminology, and I will see you very soon. Now I can go get dressed. I'll see you on Wednesday for another live stream. And until then, this is Luna. Happy